I tried to go live earlier today, and some people were saying that the audio was a little shaky and all of that. So I was like, well, let me try this again. I'm in Durban, South Africa. Let me put the chat on. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. So anyway, some of you may be watching a little bit later, and I'll check it to see if the audio quality is good or not. But I wanted to just talk about a couple things here, especially because my feed has been jumping ever since two incidents happened. One incident happened in the US, another happened in Nigeria. And so this talk is really about those who, it's kind of a twofold thing. And I didn't want to neglect to talk about what happened in Buffalo, where the supposed white supremacists went into the grocery store and targeted people in a predominantly African-American neighborhood. And that has now sparked, obviously, a lot of issues. Do me a favor, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, because I can't, in the chat, just type, I can hear you. Because this is my first time doing this on my phone. Normally I'm on my computer, so I want to make sure that that we don't get too far into this and then find out later. Okay, good, excellent. Thank you. All right, good, excellent. All right, great. All right, so that happened in Buffalo, New York. And then in northern Nigeria, a young lady was stoned and burned to death because she supposedly made an insult towards one of the religious figures in that part of Nigeria. The people took offense and they figured they were defending the honor of that particular figure and felt justified in killing her. So when I'm looking at both of these, one is happening in America, one is happening in Nigeria, and the conclusion I've come to is that crazy is everywhere. Crazy is, depending on what gets into people's minds and their thought process, they can justify doing whatever they feel. They can justify whatever thoughts they have. The KKK in America says that, God in their Jesus made them superior. So it justifies hanging people, and that's their philosophy. That's what they believe. That's how they operate. In other parts of the world and then what I'm seeing is where when people get caught in extreme religious, whatever it is, it could be anything, whatever they're feeling, whenever it goes to those extremes and they feel as though they can encroach upon someone else's privacy or their space or whatever, that becomes problematic. But that's what's happening. What I would caution, because I hear a lot of my fellow African-American brothers and sisters, they're ready to flee America because America's this, that, and the other. And I can't speak for each person's experience. Everybody's experience in America is not bad. Everybody is not the same, because America is very different in different parts of America. They're very, you go down into certain parts of Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas and Georgia and South Carolina and all of that. Yeah, you might run into a noose or two, but you go up into Maryland, you find a noose. Or up even in New England, you may find them. But then there are parts of America where you won't have any problems at all. Or the people that you have to watch out for look just like you. And then going over to Africa, you'll find parts of Africa you won't have any problems at all. None, not a. When I was in the Gambia, it was like the most peaceful place. Not a problem. You wouldn't even. It's just peaceful. Now, does that mean the whole Gambia is like that? Probably not, because guess what? People are people everywhere, and people will think and do whatever they do, however they do it. One of the things I tell people is that if you're going to leave America, please do your due diligence before you move, because a lot of people will up and leave America based on thinking that they're getting away from a particular system. And in reality, that system is everywhere. You know what I need to do? My phone power is running low. So let me go get my charger. Be right back. Let me go, because I don't want this, because I feel we're getting ready to go somewhere. So give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Almost back. I just don't want the battery to die. This is my first time chatting on the phone, and it gave me the warning that it was getting low. There we go. All right, so we should be good now. Well, maybe not. Let's see here. Hold on. Hang on in there. It should be charged a little bit, but I don't want to get into a jam. Oh, jam. There we go. All right, I should be good now. Didn't want to get into a jam. Oh, jam. Jam. All right, hey, that's how you know it's live. So when it comes to looking at, kind of backtracking a little bit, for those who just chimed in, I was talking about how crazy is everywhere. Anywhere you go in the world, you're gonna find somebody who's off, and they will act out based upon whatever their beliefs are. And so you have extremism, cultural extremism, religious extremism. You have all kinds of extremisms that take place. I was talking about a lot of African Americans who are considering leaving America, and I just want to say this: I get it, I understand it. I understand the frustrations. I've heard a lot of people talk about microaggressions and what they're dealing with racism. I want to caution you to help you understand that you're not leaving the American system by moving to certain parts of Africa, because either you're going to deal with America, you're going to deal with France, you're going to deal with the UK, you're going to deal with China, or you're going to deal with Russia or Portugal or Italy or Germany. It just depends on where you go and what those systems that have been put in place. And yes, you will have black faces that are operating those systems, but just keep in mind that if you're thinking that you're escaping the big bad wolf is all over the world. And I mean, you could put Africa in it, you could put South America, you could put Europe, you could put Asia, and you'll find elements of the big bad wolf. The good thing that you probably will not deal with, depending on where you go, is you won't deal with the overt racism that comes with many aspects of America. Now, flip side, to people who are watching from African audiences, to understand that America's not all bad. That's the first thing. America's not all bad, but it's not what they sell you when they tell y'all to leave Africa. So when you get there, you find out, just like the young man, I think he was from the Congo, who got shot by the police officer and was killed. And so that was an opportunity for people to kind of see, immigrants from Africa who could actually see a lot of what many African Americans deal with on a daily basis, in different parts of America. But I want to be very clear. It's not just like white cops that do this stuff in America. It's black cops that do this too. So other African American cops will bully, intimidate, because they got the head nigga in charge syndrome. And just to let everybody know, I just say what I say. I used to filter it and try to say, oh, the N-word. No, they got head nigga in charge syndrome, because that's the mentality that they're working with. But I see that same thing in Africa though. You see little checkpoint stops and all of that kind of stuff, and you got to bribe them and tip them. So they don't give you a hard way to go. So it's a similar kind of dynamic that you deal with. But you definitely can deal with the overt racism in America. Now, certain parts of Africa where that white population is strong, you might deal with some overt racism in your face. And you kind of like, wait a minute, I'm in Africa and I'm dealing with this. As a matter of fact, when I was on my way here, I was at the airport in Nairobi. A little white dude was there. And so he thought he was going to step in front of me. He just thought, because he figured he was business class, and I guess he figured that he thought I was economy today. And I do both. I'll do economy and business. And I saw this little joker try to make his move. I said, oh, yeah. I said, okay. So I put my shoulder in, just to let him know. And he stepped his little behind right back too. I was like, oh, nah, we're not about to do this, here today. So you deal with things all over the world. You just got to learn how to navigate it. And so for my African-American or Afro-Canadian, Afro-UK folks, just understand that coming to Africa, there's a level of peace that you can find if you go to the right place, but that Western system is infiltrating, and it is doing its job of what it's intended to do for the past 500 years. It's still doing it. A lot of people were kind of surprised. Like when I was in Senegal, the nicest embassy was the U.S. embassy. I was like, well, dang. I said, well, what is the U.S. doing up in here like this? The U.S. getting busy. I said, wow. Same thing in Ghana. So the other thing we have to be careful of is when these mass shootings happen, we now have this exodus complex to happen, So just not that you don't want to leave, but just kind of take your time and pace yourself with it, and really do your due diligence because what'll happen is, if you don't do that, you'll move somewhere thinking that, oh man, I'm moving to paradise, and then you'll find out the cultural challenges that are happening within that particular country. And every country has cultural challenges. And so, like when I was in Nigeria, I enjoyed Nigeria. I love Nigeria. Even with the stuff at the Uburu Cattle Ranch, that little place up there that I'm gonna do the video about, even with that didn't turn me off to Nigeria. Just like I'm not turned off to America, because I recognize, okay, now I will say this, the only place I have anxiety in the world, when I think about going to that place, is America. That's the only place in the world I have anxiety, because I know what I'm dealing with. I know that at any point in time, I'm riding down the street in DC, a straight bullet could come, anything could happen. You could be in your home, somebody could run up in your home and rob you in your home. Now some people say that happens in their part of the world too, but I'm just saying I don't have the anxiety other places in the world, other than when in America, when the police pull up behind me, I saw it. I got to come back to that comment. It popped up on my feed real quick, and then it disappeared. So that's the only place I feel it. Or if the police lights come on behind me. But again, like I'm saying, I'm not worried about just the white cops, the black cops too. I'm telling you, I've had interactions with both of them jokers. I've had white cops who've been, hey, hello, sir, how are you? All right, have a good evening, and hey, sent me on my way, had a great time. I have brothers and sisters, and I'm talking about over the past 30 some odd years of me driving, that have been, just like straight, like ghetto, like really? and they'll come talk to you in any kind of way, or if they have a white cop with them, now they want to flex to kind of show how bad they can be, and you just got to be chill because you know what you're dealing with at that point. So it's a lot of layers to this thing. It's a lot of layers to it, and what I'm hoping that we understand is that this stuff has been going on. These types of shootings in America have been going on for hundreds of years. So since the inception of that country, that type of stuff has been going on. Anytime you would see that particular part of the population, whether it could be the African American population, it could be the Latino population, it could be the indigenous population, those with a white supremacy mindset would do all they could to destroy, whether it be through killing, whether destroying through bombs like in Tulsa, whether it's through redlining, whether it's through building a highway through their communities, whether it's through predatory lending practices, whether it's all kinds of ways and tactics that would be used in order to suppress and frustrate a particular group of people. And again, same thing. For me traveling the world, I see the same thing happening in parts of Africa where the people are trying to move forward, and then something will come along, and whether it be through bad leadership that's either selected or elected, you just have to determine which one, selected or elected, that's put in place, or some sort of coup that sets people back economically, some sort of assassination that sets people back. And the people who continue to come in and profit from this are the same players who've been playing for the past 500-600 years. And that's the thing, that when we talk about what's going on in these cities, many of the leaders in these cities are powerless to an extent because they're dealing with a system that is not designed to effectively eradicate certain things. Now, racism isn't something you're going to eradicate. That's something that goes on someone's mind and heart. And however someone chooses to process those feelings based upon whatever it is that they're dealing with, that's what you see happening. So somebody has access to an AK-47 or 9mm or whatever, and they decide that they're going to go shoot and kill, X amount of people. There's only but so much any law enforcement can do. They have to wait until it happens and then deal with it accordingly. Now, obviously, when somehow people can surrender and not get shot, but you can not have a gun or any kind of weapon and you can find yourself getting killed, that definitely raises an eyebrow to the systemic issue. But, some of that also goes to these people understanding their privilege, if you will, or their rights, if you will. It's not too often you're going to see this type of occurrence happen with, I know it's happened because when I was in high school, there were some young brothers who came and shot up the high school that I went to. And this was 30-some years ago. So they came and shot it up. Now, nobody died. And, the people who did the shooting, they went to jail for X amount of years and all of that. So, but they ran off. And so they didn't stick around for the cops to come and go through that whole deal. We know, I think that, most people in America know that the criminal justice system is not skewed in our favor. Just by way of the law, you can see how the way the laws have been historically written, and even some of the dated laws that are on the books. One of the reasons why they try to keep African Americans out of the law profession and make it so difficult by way of the price to obtain a law degree, and then they put you in so much debt if you don't have the financial means. It was because if they keep you out of that particular space, then you have limited ability to impact and influence legislation or even fight against laws that are outdated even in 2022. Now the next statement I'm about to make is going to be pretty deep, and I don't know if y'all ready for this one. I think somebody posted something about white supremacy is increasing. Here's the reality: African Americans got to stop being white supremacists. And when I say that, meaning we have to stop putting white systems and white culture and white stuff as our standard for success. When we get that out of our system, then white supremacy won't have the same stranglehold that it has, because so many of us, we look at their education system and put it as supreme. So we want to excel in their white supremacy education system, with their white supremacy curriculums, with their curriculums that many of us don't even challenge. We take their degrees and say we're smart based upon their degrees, and then downplay our natural intelligence or our skills or our ability to do what it is that we know how to do, because we put it on this particular level. But when we say, you know what, I'm gonna get your degree only because I'm gonna play your game, but I recognize it's only a game. When we can get this out of our minds and we don't put Harvard yes, I graduated from Harvard and I went to such and such and I went to such and such school and I did this. And when we can get that out of our minds, and when we can stop going and seeking acceptance from their award shows. Oh, I need an Oscar. You know, the Soul Train Award isn't good enough. I need an Oscar. I need a Grammy because this, you know, I don't know what the other one is, you know, with the other black award, that's not good enough. When we get that stuff out of our system, then it doesn't have the same impact. Racism is not going anywhere. Racism is not going anywhere. Now, I will tell you what my travels have done. It has made me aware of how much my mind had been trained to be seeing white as right, and somehow brown is down. I'm trying not to use like color terms, but I don't know what else to use, because that's just how it is. I've had to admit how British and French I am. I had to admit it. You know, is brown, is down, home, round, away, all of that stuff. I had to say, when I'm thinking about things, how am I filtering it? How am I filtering it? That's right, America was built on white supremacy. And so what their whole goal was to do was to get whoever the person was, the person coming from Africa or wherever they brought them from, to see them as superior. And so if you could get in someone's mind that somehow what they're doing is superior, you don't have to you can sit back and act like you don't know what's going on. Yeah, I just don't know. My goodness, we need to move forward. We need to, but it's already in the person's mind, and they've already passed it down to their children. Get good grades, and so you can do better than us. Now, granted, I'm all for good grades. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for good grades, but only from a playing the game standpoint, and not so much, because see, some things they'll tell you to get good grades on erroneous information. That Christopher Columbus discovered America. How are you going to discover something that people already were living, the people were already there? But if you put on there that on that test, that he didn't discover America and there were other people there, then you get penalized for that. Can you imagine how much misinformation has been filtered down through the generations? Stuff that we have been in our school systems, that they tell us, and this is what we pass on to our children. There's a whole holiday, a Columbus holiday for a terrorist, for somebody. Just go research Christopher Columbus and why. Even back then, they decided they had to back away from him. But yet every October, here we are, Columbus Day, celebrating someone who was basically a terrorist upon brown people, indigenous people, anyone that he decided he wanted to be a terrorist, but yet he's still celebrating. We can talk about that in many of these little American presidents and all this kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is that we want other people, we want white people to stop being white supremacists, which is silly to ask that, because they were groomed in that same system. And a lot of the stuff, they just don't even, it's like, well, this is just the natural way to do it. We are superior. After all, I can't believe that you all think that you should sit at the same table with us. We'll give you a seat, but boy, you better understand, boy, where you fit at this table. Now, we'll give you recognition at the table, but we're not going to give you compensation, and we're not going to give you money. We're not going to give you equity at the table, but we'll sure enough give you a little title, because we know all you need is recognition. And you get recognition, you go back, take back to them other little niggas over there, and they will be celebrating you and say, look, you the first black this, and you the first black that, and you the first black, you the first black, you the first black. Even that term, I've come to realize, is a form of white supremacy. The first black. When all those brown people were building the country, that's an insult to those who have died and bled and cried and sacrificed so that the coming generations would be able to have more. And then the first black, well, wait a minute. They're like, well, wait a minute, hold on. We built that whole building. What are you talking about? The first black. We were the ones who built it. I look at the cobblestones in Charleston, South Carolina now completely differently. I look at the cobblestones in Old Town Alexandria now completely different. I look at the whole thing. I look at everything differently because I understand that those people who laid those cobblestones, who laid those bricks in the 1700s. And I'm telling you, Old Town Alexandria, Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, those people are nameless, faceless people. But because the person who funded it puts their name on it. So you'll see in the stones in the streets of Savannah, Georgia, where, and I'm telling you, this is why it is important for people to travel and to see certain things. Because when you go and you know that CL, whatever, give me some European name, put on there, CL Smith did not lay that brick, but somehow C.L. Smith's name is still on that brick hundreds of years later, but some brown person's hands that we'll never know laid those stones. If you go to Savannah, Georgia, you will see masonry from the Hausa tribe in the area we know as Nigeria. You'll see Adinkra symbols on the buildings in Savannah, Georgia, from the Ashanti tribe in Ghana. See, this is the stuff that they don't put in these history books, y'all. So now when I'm thinking about it, when they tell me, the first black, this, that, and the other, I say, nah, it's cool. And I celebrate the accomplishments of the person, but I recognize that's even still an endorsement of a white supremacy system. So when we get this stuff out of our minds in America and in Africa, and when we can get this out of our minds in Africa, that white is right and the way they do it is better, and we want to be like them, and this is all part of what we deal with. And I was telling some of my African brothers and sisters, they were like, yeah, well, your ancestors, we heard about what they did to your ancestors when they took them over. I said, hold up, Jack, them your ancestors too. They did the same thing they did to African Americans, they did to you, and they're still doing to you. So please don't think there's a disconnect in this whole thing. Please don't think that what happened that just happened over in America, in Brazil, and the Caribbean. But guess what? The reason why so many African countries struggle right now is because of the same thing they did to those same ancestors that we have in common. So please don't think that this thing is something different. When I said it, they were like, I never even thought about it. I never even thought about it like that. That same uncle, brother, son, mother, aunt that was taken is the same common ancestor of someone who stayed behind. And so when you begin to understand what they're now doing in Africa and how they're tearing down, see, the thing is, the whole goal is to make sure that Africa never is compensated for what has been and is being stolen from it. That if they ever began to pay, it would bankrupt the rest of the world. If you compensated for the human capital that was taken, if you pay just for the human capital alone, and you take all of the millions of people and the labor that has been benefited from throughout the world because of that, we're not even talking about the natural resources, we're just talking about the human labor. If at that point in time they paid for that, it would shut everything down. I was having a conversation with somebody recently about reparations, and I'm all for reparations. But I had to put it into a perspective because they were saying, well, America owes African Americans, which I firmly agree. No disagreement at all. None, because I'd benefit and I'd get a check too. No disagreement. I said, but honestly, what ends up happening is that we forget that America also owes Africa. America and France and the UK and Belgium and Portugal and Spain and Germany and Italy and the Dutch and the Swiss and the Danes, and they owe Africa too. And so, and I only say this from a broader perspective because a lot of times when it comes to talking about this topic, and just being an African American, we only think about it from an African American perspective, and thinking that, you know, our trauma was the worst trauma, nobody else went through what we went through, and it was just horrible. I said, but there were more that went to Brazil. When you look at the total scheme of how many people were in just the European side, we're not even talking about the Arab slave trade. I ain't even going to the Arab stuff yet, but just the European slave trade. And knowing that we say 400 years, and that's why I try to tell people, say 400 years was just when we start talking about the British coming to America. But when you start talking about the Portuguese and the Catholic Church and the 100 and some odd years that preceded that, and going into Brazil, and then when you even get into Central America and you start talking about the Spanish, and you start looking at this and the French, and how the French basically owned half of America before the Louisiana Purchase, and then you start looking at, I mean, it just has so many different layers to it. When you begin to understand how deep this thing goes, we have to now start thinking to ourselves, how are we going to position ourselves more strategically? Because begging people to give us something, begging the thief to give us something that has been stolen, is not a strategy that works well. So I think back to like the different resistances over the years, when I think back to East Africa and when people would rise up and how what they would do, they understood that, okay, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna have to frustrate these people on a level that they can't even, that drives them to the point of saying, okay, we have to sit down and negotiate. They have bombs and guns. They have economics. But what do we have? And those are things that we have to figure out. So one of the things I tell people all the time, I said, we have to stop putting ourselves in a position to where they can continue to have us or have leverage on us. Because every time we put ourselves in a position, when we take out this massive debt, you know, you don't have to go take out these loans to go to these people's schools. If anything, you stop and say, how can I get your education? How can I get your credentials without going into the debt? But because they have it in our minds that we're not going to be anything if we don't have their credentials, if we don't have their white supremacy credentials, if we don't have it, then somehow we're not going to measure up. So we put ourselves at an economic disadvantage without understanding that economics is exactly how the game is played. So when we start learning how to position ourselves economically, still get the paper, still get the credentials, still get all of the different things, everything that we need, that's how we can position ourselves. Because then when we show up to the banks, it's going to be hard for the bank to tell us no. Now, they may try to, or they might not say, you know, we might not qualify you for this. Now, what I'm talking about investment debt versus liability debt and all of that. Or if you show up to buy a property or a multi-unit building or something like that, because that's all they do. Because when you go to most of our neighborhoods, guess who owns the buildings? Guess who owns the buildings? Guess who we pay rent to, because we have been ingrained to pay rent instead of saying, I'm going to own this. And if we are going to pay rent, we're going to pay rent to each other. So then at this point in time, we can pay this off, and we can duplicate and duplicate. And that's what a lot of Latino people are doing now. When they're coming up from Central America and Mexico, and they're coming in and they're buying properties cash. And they're saying, oh, we see how the game is played. They're getting their citizenship. They might not care anything about America. They're just using America for what America's worth. And so what I'm hoping to inspire for us is that we say, okay, wait a minute. All right, we see some foul stuff going on. We know this stuff is not fair. We know racism is in place. We've been singing this song for the past 100 some odd years. We've marched. We've asked for these different things. They keep telling us no. They'll give everybody else what they want to give them. They'll keep doing all these different things. So what are we going to do differently? And that's what I decided. I said, you know, I'm just going to have to make some sacrifices. I'm not going to be able to go and do everything I want to do. And this is what I decided like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm going to have to make sacrifices so that I could be in a position to purchase, so that I could be in a position to get in the game and position myself differently. And so that's what I'm hoping, like on the continent of Africa, that when and I understand it's a different dynamic because access to capital is the problem in many cases. But the other thing I would hope is that if you have land, hold on to your land and develop your land. Maybe you can partner with someone who is not as who's not going to take advantage of you, and say, okay, well, you got the land, well, I'll give you 5. Because like the little Indian dude went to the village and said, look, we want to buy your land for pennies. We'll pay you pennies to put a pineapple farm on it and pay you pennies, but they were going to make millions. But the people were savvy enough, and they said, oh, no, get out of here with that. No, we're not doing that. We are not going to do it. And so, but that's how they come in. And so what I'm hoping is that we stop being so nice and stop being so, I don't even know if the word is forgiving, because I think some people just don't understand. You got to be just as shrewd. You have to look and say, hey, listen, we cool as long as you don't try to play me. We cool, we good. As long as we're gonna make this equitable, then it's all good. But if you're gonna come in here and think that you automatically have an advantage because you might have a little bit of vocabulary, or you might walk in with a posture where you think that you have resources that I don't have, well, we gotta figure out what it is we do have. And we have to leverage that. And we have to play the game just as cutthroat. And the other thing we got to do is get this nice thing. Another way that they got us is when they taught us their version of religion. And when they started teaching us to be nice and get smack your face, turn the cheek, and all this. In the meantime, they're stealing everything. And then next, smack me, and if you smack me, I'll give you my cloak and my tunic too. Take more from me, just take everything. And I'm just gonna sit here and wait. I'm just gonna pray for things to change. And then that's a part of when someone interprets things for you in their language, and now here you are behaving that way. We have to get back to where it's like, look, if we're gonna play the game, let's play this thing fair. And we need more, even if you don't have to have a law degree to understand the law. That's what I love about like people who understand strategy. You don't have to have a law degree in order to understand the law. You sit down and you say, hey, okay, hold tight. We're gonna sit down and do this. Let me understand eminent domain. So you mean to tell me with eminent domain, if I'm in this particular area, you can come tear down my building. You still have to pay me for it, but you can come tear it down whenever you feel. So then you can, as a part of your due diligence, you can say, now, do we want to buy this in this particular area? Because this could potentially become an eminent domain situation. Or you sit down at the table and you say, all right, now, because you can work collectively. You can sit down and put things together and work with other people, but you have to know your position, and you got to know the laws, and you have to know all these different things, because if you just trust them, hey, oh, we just gonna sign here, they'll come back, they'll either take it from you by force, or they'll try to take it from you with the law. But the reason why you had people who fought back, like the Timine and the Mende on the Amistad, and they were able to gain victories that way, is because they had enough within them, even though they didn't understand, it was confusion and all that going on. They were able to work and have enough fight within them that sometimes you have enough fights, you can inspire other people to be on your side. And so you have these victories that you'll see throughout time where people, when you see it throughout time where people would have victories because they understood what they were up against. And so all I'm saying is right now, America's not all bad. America has its problems. Africa as a whole continent is not all bad. It definitely has its problems, just like America. It's when you come, and that's what you see me doing. I come, I see, I figure out, okay, what works for me, what's not gonna work. Hey, this could go well. What type of system is this? How do you navigate this particular system? One system may work differently in Africa than another, just like another system in particular parts of America may work differently than another. A system in Brazil may work differently than a system in Haiti. So when you're understanding all these dynamics, you can make a decision and go accordingly. All I'm saying is that when it comes to what we see going on, the power, and I'm gonna speak specifically to African Americans, and I want my brothers and sisters in Africa to hear this because it's relevant to you as well. To my brothers and sisters, my African American brothers and sisters, What they told us over the years is that we were marginalized, disadvantaged, anything negative you can think of, health challenged, mental health challenged, education challenged, without really teaching us the full story of what happened and how many of our ancestors were taken from their indigenous places where they were already medical doctors, where they were already leaders in their own communities, within their own judicial systems and structures. And some of those structures we might not be feeling today. We might not want anything to do with that. But nevertheless, they were already thriving within their own systems. Many of them were taken from their indigenous systems, placed together within other ethnic groups that had their own indigenous systems, different languages, confused the whole situation, moved them to a land that they had no familiarity or knowledge of, and then said, now we're going to put you in a whole new system. We're going to educate you the way we want to educate you. We're going to dismiss all of the traumas that occurred along the way, the psychological traumas that we imposed upon you, the physical traumas that we imposed upon you, the rapes that were imposed upon you, the malnourishment, the psychological issues that people never had a chance to sit down and talk to a counselor about. We're going to put all of this on you. We're going to do this, and then we're going to now judge you based upon our standards without providing you the resources that you need to be able to cope with the generational impact of these traumas that occurred systemically and systematically over hundreds of years. Now, with all of that coming down the pike, and with them infusing a white supremacy mindset within us to tell us that we're not good enough and that what we should do, we should put on white wigs and want to be like them. And I'm talking about the colonial wigs and put on the colonial clothes and wear the colonial names. And even when you start looking at our historically black organizations that were started by them and still carry their names to this day, many of them, not all of them, but many of them. And see, these are things that we don't know. NAACP, co-founded by them. Many of our historically black schools started and founded by them. And so some people, well, we needed to have such as a true. I'm not saying that, there were some good folks in there that did some things here and there. But when you go back to it, it's still reinforcing this white supremacy thing because when you begin to look at the indigenous cultures and the indigenous history and all those different things, a lot of that has been lost. And that's what many of us are seeking. We don't even understand it. That's why many of us, in America in particular, not so much in Brazil and South America, but in America in particular, that's why the DNA tests are so important, because there's something in many of us, not all of us, but many of us who are saying, we know there's a missing piece to the puzzle. We know there's something missing. And even when we hear this wild off the wall stuff, the people are trying to say, well, the slave trade never happened. And you're not from Africa and all. I said, Negro, how you know where I'm from? How you know my DNA? But you got a whole lot of people out here listening to this stuff because they have adopted the white supremacy mindset so much that they don't even want to associate with Africa. But even with all of that, they know something is missing. Even with all of that, they know something is missing and they're searching. And so all you gotta do is go to Nigeria and you see all your cousins and everybody. I said, I don't need a DNA test. I stepped in Nigeria. I was like, well, Lord have mercy. I said, well, and they couldn't even believe. They said, well, what state are you from? I said, well, from South Carolina and grew up in D.C. No, what state in Nigeria are you from? I said, I wasn't born in Nigeria. They're like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, nah. I have a lot of Nigerian, that part of it, because Nigeria was something that was created within the past 60 years or so. But I was like, from that part of the world, but that's how I knew. I could look at the hair, I could look at the features, and we could look at each other and we could say, wait a minute, come on, y'all, what are we talking about here? If we aren't from here, then I don't know where we're from. One brother, he came, he said, well, no, one sister, she said, well, I see where we got all these big behinds from, Lord have mercy. The sister came and said it, at that point you knew. I think we were in Ghana, and she was like, yeah, I see where we get it from now. What I'm saying to us is that when we can take pride in wanting to at least learn more about what's going on, it gives a level of confidence that when we show up, We're not begging, because that's the one thing we've been trained to beg and ask and please give us something when there are rights right in front of us. I say this to African Americans in particular, and I'm gonna circle back to Africa. If you took all African Americans and you put them as an economic powerhouse, African Americans would be right around the 13th wealthiest country in the world. You understand? 13th wealthiest in the world. But the reason why they don't want us to come tap into what's going on in Africa, because what ends up happening is we begin to learn the story. So when I'm going to Gambia and Ghana and Nigeria, and I'm seeing, I said, what's the Queen of England? What is she having? Why is she everywhere? What's going on? I'm going to the Francophone countries in Senegal, and I'm saying, what's up with the French? You know, I was in Cote d'Ivoire. I was like, why do they have such an affection for the French? What's going on here? Why is it Macron? Well, I think that's a Macron or whatever. Why are they this all up in this man's stuff like this? What's going on? You know? And so I'm looking and I'm saying the greatest education. Yeah, people think I'm just talking about taking tours, y'all. What I do is much deeper than taking tours. This you talking about taking a tour somewhere. I can just take you to a tour and show you a monument and say, have a good day. But I'm looking, I'm saying, just when I was in the Gambia the other day, and I was like, now, why is this woman down here kneeling, receiving this Bible or whatever from Queen Victoria? I said, what's going on here? Why do I keep seeing these recurring themes? Then you start learning the stories about how the Germans had this one particular African ethnic group fighting for them, defending the Germans. But it wasn't because these people were weak. It's because the Germans had the guns. So it's kind of like, so what are you going to do? You want to be with us or you going to be against us? See, it's when you begin to understand the layers and layers of ethnic stuff that was going on, and how when they came in with the imperialist mindsets and all of that, and how they would come in and begin to manipulate things. And think about it. If somebody has a gun to your head, okay? If somebody has a gun to your head, now you have to make a decision on what you're going to do. We got a family, children, and all that. What are you going to do? You know, so these are things that we don't understand. We don't know. These are things that we haven't lived through. Gen Xers and baby boomers. None of us have been enslaved. And I will say this is why so many 80, 70 plus year olds chime in and like and all of that, because they understand. They lived it. I didn't live it, but I guess whatever I'm saying, they must realize, like, okay, hey, I get it. It's clicking. It's making sense. So if we understand our power as African Americans, 13th wealthiest country in the world, but somehow they still got us crying broke. Imagine if we didn't go get in all that student loan debt. Student loan debt hovering around 1.8 trillion. African Americans GDP right around 1.5 to 1.7 trillion. Now, of course, student loan debt is not all African American, but let's just think, if we took our money, if we didn't pursue their brands, if we didn't find validation in wearing their brands and spending $200, $300, $400, $500 to look one particular kind of way, if we took that money and invested it, if we took that money and chose a smarter way to go about going to school and all of that, and getting their education, but while still getting our education over here, learning who we are and understanding who our great leaders and warriors have been, even though, you know, there were challenges. I'm not trying to paint that picture like it was pretty either. But just imagine now if we go back and we partner with our brothers and sisters on the continent. I'm not talking about exploiting them, because I see a lot of African Americans doing, basically their minds so colonized, they're just doing the same thing that the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians and the Europeans are doing. But I'm talking about those African Americans, those Afro-Canadians, those Afro-Caribbeans, those Afro-Brits go and say, now we're going to go and bring our resources back, and we're not going to take. Because we are descendants of the resource. We have resource in our DNA, whether it's 25% or 90%. We have someone's DNA in us who was taken as a resource and taken to America or wherever in those parts of the world to build it up. And so now if we could go back and say, listen, now we want to come bring some of this back. We can't change the global system that's been in place for all of these. We can't change it because it's so entrenched, but we can get into this and at least begin to have a say-so in it in such a way, not just for us to go build our stuff and do what we want to do, but, and this is what I do with my company. This is what I do, so that you understand what I'm doing. There are people right now who are getting their master's degree because of working with me in Africa. There are people who, their quality, meaning they were paid one particular wage. This is the standard wage in their country, but I tripled that wage. See, I could have gone and said, I'm just gonna pay you the same amount. And they'd have been very happy with that because that's how the exploitation works. That's how these companies go in. This is how Africa gets taken advantage of because people see that this is an easy way to get into people's cost of living. When you take a country like Burundi or the Gambia or something like that, that might have a $6 billion GDP. Now, notice somewhere around there, you just kind of pull up the number, $6 billion somewhere, give or take. $6 billion GDP per year. Pull up Bill Gates and Bezos and all of them, what their net worth is. You'll see some of these countries, there are people who are making more money every year, individuals, than some countries. Even if you take Nigeria with, I think they're like close to, I think they're like 520 billion GDP per year. They're the wealthiest African country, followed up by, I think, Egypt right after, and then South Africa. And so if you take those three economies right there, those three economies still, well, if you take those three economies, they amount to roughly what the GDP of African Americans are. So you take that, and if you somehow connect all of those, so you connect those resources together, and you connect, you gotta throw Kenya in there too, definitely in Ghana. Ghana and Kenya, like not too far from each other, right around 80 billion per year in GDP. But if we begin to understand that particular game and start learning how to play in it, and you don't have to broadcast it from everywhere saying, listen, we coming to get our stuff back. We coming back to Africa to get our stuff. Shh. Just do it. Just do it. Educate in stealth. Educate like how our ancestors used to do when they'd have to speak in code, or like the Nubians would do when they would go to war, and they had their language, but other people couldn't go, and they couldn't go and figure it out. And this is some recent stuff that happened, like maybe back in the 80s. See, we want everybody to know everything we're doing. And yeah, see, I want to be the next Martin Luther King, and I want to be the next Barack Obama, and I want to be the next Stokely Carmichael, I want to be the next Marcus Garvey. That's feeding ego. You sit down and you say, look, do this, do this, do this. Don't fool with them student loans. Hey, when you put them people brand on your back, you want that Louis, you want that Gucci, you want all that kind of stuff. You putting them white boys on your back. You paying them a premium. Make your own brand. Now put that out there and let them wear it. See, these are the conversations that we got to start having. And this is stuff in Africa. Same thing. Just like my man, what's the young boy Kelvin in Ghana who's making the cars? He go make the cars. He could put his own name, his own brand on it. Just like they got brilliant people in Kenya and Nigeria and all these different places, and they can put the stuff together, hold the value to it, and put it out there for other people. And we go buy the brands from them. And then we don't have to go out and eat Saint Laurent. We run around, yes, I wear Yves Saint Laurent, and I'm wearing such and such, and what's the thing, the Rolex watches? I'm just saying. I'm saying, and some people, well, I like that kind of stuff. Cool, that's fine. I'm just saying that if you want to change the game, you just kind of keep your mouth shut and make your moves. So every time you buy a property, you don't have to tell everybody. Just buy the property. You can set up multiple LLCs. You can set up multiple companies so everybody doesn't have to know who's who and what's what and all this other kind of stuff. And you set it up, before you know it, you have a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate working for you, collecting rent from them. And then when you sit down at the table, they say, well, we don't know if you have enough collateral to be able to do this. And we're trying to figure out how you can do X, Y, or Z. And we need to figure out how to, And he said, no, that's cool. We got cash. And that's the one thing I love about Nigerians. A lot of people talk about Nigerians and their hustle factor. But the beautiful part about it is, hey, when you got 200 and some odd million people in a country, you got to figure it out. Imagine you take all of that hustle and you put some resources with it. What can happen? And if they can get us out of this ethnic stuff that's going on, the ethnic, I don't like you and you don't like me, and I'm better than you and you better than me, and we can't even be ebony and ivory. You know, we can't live together side by side in harmony because we're sitting there, we're worried about all this other kind of stuff. So, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up. I didn't plan on going this long, but I'm here in South Africa, and I had to talk about this though. I will put this one note in it. Wherever, and this is not, I don't tell people what to believe or how to think. I don't tell, when I say this meaning as far as from a religious standpoint, but I'm just going to drop some knowledge on you as far as my observations as someone who spent many, many years in the church world. And my travels have opened my eyes to some things. And what I'm hoping that we can do is that we can just use our brains and we can just think for a second, just stop and think and take the religion out of it just for a moment and just stop and think. Because sometimes what happens is we stop thinking and we gaslight ourselves. I think that is the part that devastates me the most, that we gaslight ourselves to the point where we'll see something, but we will somehow convince ourselves that we don't see what we see. And so this is what I've seen in my travels. Wherever I go, wherever there's extreme poverty, according to Western standards, and I have to put that caveat there, there's extreme religion. Wherever I go. Now, this doesn't mean that that's the case. You know, everybody who's extremely religious is poor. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as far as a broad cultural, it is whether it be Islam, whether it be Catholicism, whether it be Anglicanism, wherever it's a mass of people, you find extreme religion. And when people don't understand how religion was used as a weapon against the minds of people, what it turns into is what we see happening or saw happen in northern Nigeria, what we see happen with people shooting. The dude goes up in the church in South Carolina and shoot the people while they're having Bible study. Now, I don't know if his was religiously motivated or not, but you have the Ku Klux Klan, who says religion. And what I find is that when people don't have that level of religion hovering over them, they don't have that level of oppression, if you will. I'm just talking about my own observations. I'm not telling people to throw away their religion. What I'm saying is, in my observation, I see poverty and white Jesus side by side. And even when I go to majority areas where you have, where there's the Islam, same thing. In America, you have a church on every corner, but then you have the same conditions, out of control crime. The school systems are jacked up, all this other kind of stuff. But there's a church on every corner. And if I gaslight myself, I just say, well, that's just the way it is. But then if I'm reading the religious books don't even say that that's how it's supposed to look. So that tells me something else is going on. When I'm around people and they don't even question what's happening. I say, don't you see something that's off? Hush, we can't say nothing. We can't say nothing about that. We better leave that alone. You better hush up now. Like, huh? Now I'm telling you what I've seen and what I've lived through. I've been in church environments where the people saw the stuff was crazy. The preachers in America, I'm not even talking about the preachers in Africa. I'm talking about the preachers in America, the black preachers in America, stood up there and said some of the most backwards things. And they just said, well, God is, God gonna have to deal with him. And he gonna have to answer to God for that. But I ain't gonna say nothing because God just told me to just go ahead and just go along with it. I'm saying, no. Are you reading what, do you hear what you're saying out of your own mouth? Do you even hear this? Do you hear yourself talking? No, it's okay. It's not, I ain't gonna question. The Bible said, lean not to my own understanding. But didn't the Bible also say that you're supposed to have discernment to be able to recognize good from evil? Didn't the Bible tell you that too? Well, now hush up now. You're gonna go get yourself in trouble now because you better be quiet. And I'm telling you, this is in America, y'all. I hear this right now in America. So I would be a fool, I said this earlier, I would be a fool to ignore what I've seen. I see it in Africa. Say, hey, well, why is the prettiest building in the village the church? Where are the resources? Well, what's going on here? Why are y'all building a Catholic cathedral in the downtown of Accra, Ghana, and y'all need schools? Y'all need hospitals. Y'all need all this stuff. Y'all need much more than that. And then y'all gonna put a white Jesus up in there just to continue to indoctrinate the people's mind? And then you're gonna follow a politician because a politician told you this is what it's supposed to be? Where is the brain? Where? First of all, the white Jesus did not even exist. That's not even in the scriptures. It's not even in the Bible. So what are you following? What are you following at that point? Could you be following the angel of light? Could you be following Satan as he's masquerading as an angel of light? This is what the scriptures say. But we follow people. We don't hold them accountable. We have blind trust, and we do it in America. We do it just because they're on TV, and we say, that's a man of God because they're on TV. That's a woman of God because they're on TV. Do you understand? All you need to do is get enough money. Anybody can be self-appointed. You can put anybody up on TV. Anybody can get up on TV and say, yes, our bishop so-and-so. And God told me to tell you this right here. And if you've been traumatized for hundreds of years, and that trauma's been passed down to you for hundreds of years, and you believe it and you put it on your children, just like the lady was sitting up there right there just a few weeks ago when they had the little Easter thing, and she was crying over the white Jesus, little fake white Jesus laid up there on the ground, and they were rubbing on him and everything, and oh Jesus, man, Jesus. And the people just sitting around. I said, now, you know what? I said, that's somebody's mother, grandmother, and probably responsible for teaching generations. And probably told somebody, that's Jesus. That's Jesus right there. That ain't Jesus, y'all. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That right there, that image is a weapon. And I hear people all say, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Well, we got to get that white supremacy image out of our minds. That image right there. Because it was made up. And until we do, we playing games. That's all I'm gonna tell you. And this is from somebody who's been up in the church for 25 years. So I'm not no church rookie. And this is what I try to tell people. People who know me know I ain't no church rookie. I haven't even unleashed the stuff that I know and the things I've seen. But you should know by what I'm saying right now that I've seen some things. I've been up in some back rooms and seen some things and been around some people that would rock y'all world. I've had some conversations with some folks on both continents I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I respect people's confidence. But what I'm telling you is what I know. And so what I have been consistent with in my entire journey is making sure that the people have not been left behind. And so when I see these things, when I see this stuff going around the world, I won't gaslight myself. And people who follow me will not be gaslit. And I will tell you straight up, this is what's going on. Again, I can't tell you what to believe. That's not my job. All I'm going to tell you is this, that if you're following white Jesus, that is not in the Bible. That image was made up as a weapon to be used against your mind, your children's minds, and anybody who follows that. And any preacher out there who still has that in his or her church, anybody who's still promoting that image is not promoting what is in those scriptures. I can tell you that right now. If you're going to a church and you've been going to a church for 50 years and everybody's still struggling and still people are not advancing. I mean, because these are certain things, there you go, Caesar Borgia. This is the thing, I'll just start using scriptures. Scripture says to judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. If everybody's still oppressed and sick and going through all those types of things, what type of person would stay in that environment? What type of person would stay in that environment if the people are not advancing, first in their minds, if they're not advancing within themselves? See, these are things you got to ask yourself. I mean, just use the same thing. How about this? The Bible will show you this stuff too. So the Bible will show you, wait a minute, something's off here. That somebody can just get up, some charismatic personality can just get up and do something like that and the whole audience fall out. And nobody's asking any questions. Like, now what kind of spell is that you got going on right here? They can just, and nobody's saying, well, now where is that in the Bible? Where y'all, some of y'all still running behind Benny Hinn and all that. Well, you can't call out Benny Hinn. You can't talk about Benny Hinn like that. Just find what Benny Hinn is doing in the Bible and make it make sense. But when people don't read, and again, like they talked about, somebody was telling me how people are illiterate. That's no excuse though. That's no excuse, because if you're going to trust your soul, to this stuff, the soul is your existence of your fiber, and you're going to trust your soul to something and not do due diligence. That's what I'm saying. Asking questions, diving deeper. Once you understand how them Catholics got in and how them Anglicans got in, that's why I say I don't understand how a black person, a brown person, a Latino person, a native indigenous person, an African person, I don't understand how anybody can still stay Catholic or Anglican or, I'm gonna circle around to another one in a second. After understanding the origins of how that weapon was used against them. Then when you go to the Arabs and the Arab slave trade in East Africa, which so many people, that didn't happen, like, oh, y'all crazy. That's a gaslight situation. I've talked about this stuff before. Was never involved in slavery. Okay, well, y'all got museums, y'all got dungeons, y'all got Tipu Tip. You have a whole history of videos and pictures and everything showing Arabs when they are now, when they were over there using Islam as a weapon against the people. So now, you go, when I went to Egypt, and I went down the Nile River, and so you begin to learn as the Nubians were resisting the Arabs and what was going on and how they were trying to impose Islam upon them. It is what it is. Now, somebody would gaslight you, say that's not true. First of all, when you understand the history of the world and you understand that normally what begins to happen is they'll come in with the missionaries or whatever it is they want to call them, soften the people up. And once you get them soft, that's it. I went out to a stilt village in Ghana. Boy, I'm gonna show the video. I have all this stuff. I have all the video footage of this. It's just, I went out to the stilt village in Ghana, out near Takoradi. I get off of the boat. These people are living out on water. That's right, the Arab slave trade did, absolutely. Like 700 years before. They're living out on water. You got to really be hard pressed to go out here. You got to really be on some other stuff to get out here. You got to be like, I get out there, get off the boat, y'all. I mean, this is a still village, indigenous people. The first thing I saw when I got off the boat, y'all, was the fake white Jesus. And the Catholic missionaries had come out there probably 70, 80 years before. And I asked them, I said, well, how did this happen? How did this happen? He said, well, the chief allowed the missionaries to come in, the Catholic missionaries, and they have this Catholic church that looked like it was falling down. I was like, let that joint fall. Let it fall. I didn't say that to them because I wasn't trying to, end up in, I'm out there in a still village, hey, trying to get back. But the reality is that when I saw that image, I said, wow. When I went to go renew my passport and I had to get the passport pictures in Ghana, I'm showing this video. I stepped in the place to get the passport pictures. 2 big fake white Jesuses sitting up on the wall. I said, this is what the people are sitting under all day long. I go out to Kenya, and I'm in Kenya, and it was a little bead factory place where they make the beads. And they got the little white lady who went out there. It was like, oh, I'm going to go help the little Polo Africans. They need us to come help them, and we're going to create jobs for them. I'm like, shoot, if you would just pay them what you owe them, they wouldn't need your jobs. So, but you know how they come with that white savior complex. So I go out and they're touring, there's me and a bunch of other white people going to tour the factory. I said, oh, this should be interesting. So I said to myself, okay. I said, well, I'm looking around. I said, wow, these people are really skilled and talented. I already know this just because I know how African people and how talented and skilled they are. I know how they build everything, and I know how people manipulate their talent out of them because they alter their systems. So, but I'm looking at the factory that they're working in. They're all around the walls. They got the fake white Jesus. And I said, the people sit and work under this every day. I went to the place where they call it a slum. I didn't see it as a slum. I saw it actually as a place we can learn a lot from. But this was also in Kenya. Happened to go inside of one of the homes in this particular area. First thing I saw on the wall was a fake white Jesus. I said, okay. Now, there be people, oh man, the white Jesus ain't a big deal. I'm like, shit, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't understand warfare. Warfare is not guns and bombs always. Sometimes it's psychological. Sometimes it's spiritual. Sometimes we can get into this thing, and if I can get into your mind and I can control your behaviors, I can control your pocketbook, I can control money, I can control your resources, I can control who you marry, I can control how you think about people, I can control how you treat your own family, I can control how you treat your own children. If you get in somebody's mind enough, you can have a husband or a wife. You could tell that husband or wife, do not have sex with your husband or your wife, and somebody would even sit there and listen and follow that. They would say, well, okay, the pastor said I better not have sex with you, and the husband or wife will not do it because they're afraid of some sort of holy condemnation coming on them. I saw Ethiopia pop up in there. When I went to Lalibela in Ethiopia, I'm telling y'all, I was going there because I was on a spiritual journey. You spend a lot of time in the church world. You see a lot of crazy things. You start asking questions. So I went up in there and I saw that white Jesus up in Lalibela. I said, oh, Lord. The people were bowing down to the Mary and the white Jesus. And I said, okay. I said something's, and you could tell this wasn't authentic. You could tell the stuff was brought in from somewhere else. Hey, what's going on? Hey, from Eritrea. So I said to myself, I said, what has happened here? I said, because now this is a part of the world where it was believed this is where the origins, this is original. I said, how did this fake white Jesus get up on these walls? Then I went to Egypt. And I'm sitting up there thinking, man, I'm about to go see some stuff. I went up in the Coptic church in Egypt, and the people had the little fake white Jesus, and they were crying to the fake white Jesus, and they were doing all this kind of stuff. And I said, no, wait a minute. Now, I know I've been told that there are parts in the Vatican and Europe where you might see a different color. What I'm trying to get everybody to really focus on is the white supremacy of what happens and how things have been altered. And until we get the white supremacy out of our minds, then we can't ask the white supremacists to change. We have to change. And so for years, for most of my life, I didn't even really think about it. It was kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's how they did it. So I remember a little kid, little white Jesus everywhere. I didn't think anything of it. But once I understood it was my responsibility, it was on me at that point. And that's what I'm saying. It's on me. And that's what you see me doing. That's why I travel so many different places, because it's an education. And when I get the image, when I get the education, then it's like, wow. It's a level of freedom, y'all, that I have not had most of my life. That when people try to tell you how to think and tell you how to do and this, that, and the other, it's just a level of freedom. I now question everything. Like, who said that? Just because you said it doesn't mean, no, you got to give me a little bit more than just because you said it. Nope, just because you read it out of a book, okay, who wrote the book? See, that's what I'm saying. It goes deeper when you start saying, who wrote the book? Who told you that book was the book, was the right book? Well, I have a whole stack of books. Okay, who wrote those books though? Have you been anywhere to go see this for yourself? See, nobody, and see, this is one of the reasons why I take video with me everywhere, because I have proof of everything I'm saying. I could take you to Lalibela and see the people sitting. You could see it. I have pictures and videos of it. In Egypt, you could see it everywhere when I went to those places. So that's why I said, oh, I have the proof. So it's not just me making it up. So when I put all of this together, it's like, oh, wow. When I went and got my passport photo in Ghana, I made sure I flipped that phone on. My phone is vicious. I mean, I know how to take pictures and people don't even know I'm recording. I'll be holding the phone like this. You don't even know what's going on. You say, well, what is he doing? How's he? Or you wouldn't even know it. Just flip it up just a little bit. It just look like it's off. Where's my, I don't even have my phone in front of me, but, oh, this is my phone right here. It is in front of me. All right, y'all. Just know the fire's coming. I'm loving it. I'm loving the people that are coming on these tours with me. Recent tour, and I'm gonna give you this last thought. And just please understand, what I'm trying to do is just can't gaslight myself. That's all I'm saying. But lady came on a tour. She's almost 70 years old. And y'all hit that like button. Y'all come on and subscribe too. Come on, y'all. We got I'm not even, my mind isn't, y'all got to do that. Y'all got to share it and tell people to subscribe and tell the family to watch and stuff like that. Go share this video out and go share it with the bishop and go share it with whoever, Now, and of course, people are gonna be mad and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. I don't care, because I know what I've seen with my eyes. And I know that God gave me a brain to process this stuff. He didn't have, it's like I didn't spend all those years in that world for no reason, seeing some of the things that I've seen. So it's no, so somebody being upset about it, just like, okay, cool. And then I can have a conversation with, hey, let me take you some of these back rooms and some of the things I've seen. But I'm there with a 70-year-old lady. We were sitting down on one of the tours, and she said to me, and when she said it, my heart, my heart rejoiced. And I'm gonna tell you why my heart rejoiced. Because she's in seminary. She, when people get to a certain age, you can't tell, they they know it. But she didn't know anything about all my years in church and all that, none of it. She said, Jay, I'm almost 70 years old. And she said, I have spent my entire life in this religion. She said, but I came here to Ghana. And she said, I cannot shake what I've seen. She said, I see how they use this as a tool against us. I'm just sitting at the table like this. I didn't say a word. I don't steer people in one way or the other. I don't do any of that. I just I drink my water and I mind my business. Because I just trust that people who are supposed to be, they're supposed to get it. Everybody's not gonna get it. I just create the environment for people to get it. And she said, I'm in seminary right now. She said, I got to figure out what I'm gonna do. She said, I got to figure out what I'm gonna do. She said, I'm almost 70 years old. And I could tell this thing was resonating within her. It was dealing with her. I learned at that point, let me be quiet. Because in this moment, she's processing it. And so what I'm hoping is that people will just begin to start processing things and stop and just please just take the hat off for a second and say, is this what I see? Like, why is it that we're giving out groceries every year, but why aren't we teaching the people how to buy the groceries or how to grow the food or why do we have to always just give them a turkey and just to make them feel good? Why can't we show them how to raise the turkey or to make the money to get the turkeys? How is it other communities that have less religion can somehow use common sense and put these things together? Why is it that we're praying for people to hear from God and God has already spoken? Circumstances have already spoken, but we're praying for them to be able to hear, and this is what we do repetitively year after year after year after year, and the answers oftentimes are already there. People already know what's going on. It's just we just somehow in our minds it's mind-boggling. But people are waking up. And I just believe that part of it. People are waking up. They're starting to see. I think a lot of times people are afraid because they don't know what to do. They don't know what's next. Like, what's next? What do I do next? What do I do next? What's next? Just like we got into this, sometimes you just have to put one step in front of the other. When I first stepped foot in Ghana, I didn't know what was next. I'm in Durban, South Africa right now. I don't know what's next. I was in the Gambia 2 days ago. I didn't know what was next. I was in Senegal, didn't know what was next. I was in Morocco, didn't know what was next. I was in Seychelles, I was in Kenya, I was in Tanzania, I was in Nigeria, I was in Ghana, I was in Ethiopia, I was in Egypt, I was in Togo, I was in Benin, I was in Sierra Leone. When I got my dual citizenship in Sierra Leone, I didn't know what was next. When I was in Cote d'Ivoire, I didn't know what was next. I just continued to live each day and let each day unfold the way it was supposed to. I stopped overthinking life. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna go with the flow. But by doing that, it started resonating with so many people. That's why we're bringing 500 people to Africa this year, just so they can experience whatever they're supposed to experience. That's what I say. I don't tell people. I just say, hey, have a great time. I take them where they need to go and let the chips fall where they may. So overthinking it, trying to figure out what's next, but at least start asking some questions. Hey, Bishop, how is it we got this big old building and we still have the people in the community still suffering? Why can't we build a hospital instead of building this building? Well, what's going on? Why we need to, why can't we build some more schools and help the people compete within this system? Well, why do we have to, why are we waiting for the government to do certain things that we can do, Bishop? And this is in Africa and America. South America, Central America, Caribbean. Why are we waiting for the government to do certain things at the church or the mosque or the synagogue or whatever these religious institutions are supposed to be doing? Why can't we empower ourselves? Because guess what? Y'all can get me preaching now. I told you I spend a lot of time in church. If you just go into if you go into the scriptures and you see just the way the scriptures reference to the people were supposed to be independent. The people were supposed to be powerful. The people were supposed to be above and not beneath. The people were not supposed to be the slave to the lender. See, these are things that when you look at the positioning of even what the scriptures say the people were supposed to do, how far off we are even from the basics of that. So what are we even practicing if we can't even do the basics of what the people say they believe in? Come on, y'all. That's a common sense thing. You just ask yourself that question. Ask yourself the question. Just if you're gonna do it, get to the basics and hold it accountable. Hold the manual that you're following accountable for the results that it's supposed to deliver. But anybody who just lives their life and don't get results from the manual, and you're giving money and time and energy and all this other kind of stuff to it, that's when you gotta start asking yourself some questions. And then you gotta find out, what do you really believe? All right, y'all got me fired up in South Africa. Lord have mercy. Hey, the other thing I say is this. Don't be afraid to ask the uncomfortable questions. And people gonna start asking you, they're gonna start questioning you. Who cares? Who are people anyway? Who are people? Everybody comes in this world the same way, and everybody's gonna leave out the same way. And the only thing that we can do is answer for ourselves. So I wouldn't even worry about the bishop and the pastor and the little nasty church people who want to be mean and look at you, give you all funny looks. You can look mean and funny to them too. You can give all, you can do that too. You know, what power do they have? They have no power. And sometimes they need people to stand up to them and say, look, I ain't scared of you. And if all you can do is quote that colonized, if that's all you got, if you can't come with results, and if all you can do is that little jibber jabber right there, put your snake up, put your thing of staff, and just, you know, I got it. I'm intertwining some things because I know some people need to understand it from that perspective too. That's kind of like how you decolonize it. So when you hear me going in and out, just understand I know what I'm doing. I spent 25 years in that world. I get it. I just want people to start using the brain that God gave them. You start doing that, how Peebo and Regina Bell said, a whole new world, it begins to open up. And the shackles come off your feet so you can dance. I got me with all the songs now. It all comes off. And that's really what it is. So if you want to live the abundant life, get the yoke from around your neck and begin to open up your eyes and see, you know, what's going on out here. And just ask yourself some questions. All right, look, I got much more on the way. I'm here in Durban. Just know, crazy is everywhere. Just to summarize this, crazy is everywhere. And yeah, you might have. Yeah. We talked about it earlier. Somebody came. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. So go back and watch that other part where we talked about the U.S. and Africa and everything. Just know there's crazy everywhere. If you're going to decide to move to another country, do your due diligence. Check out the culture and the systems. For me personally, I'm not giving up America. I guess it is. Yeah, it must be about 10 o'clock. I don't know. My phone's in front of me. So just know that crazies in Africa, just like crazies in America. And just understand, if you're thinking that you're going to escape the American system by moving to Africa, America's everywhere. You just won't deal with that same level of overt racism in your face. And I love everywhere I've been in Africa. So you just got to pick where you like. South Africa be great for some people. Ghana be great for some people. The Gambia is great for others. Egypt's great for others. Morocco, people love Morocco. They love Ethiopia. Some people love Kenya. Some people love Tanzania. Some people love Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire. It just depends on where you want to go. But I encourage you to go and see and be among the people. And by doing that, you can determine. I believe you owe it to yourself. And hopefully situations like this, when we see these types of situations, it may serve as a catalyst for you to move. Sometimes we need a catalyst, and that might be what it is. That might be the thing when you start hearing about these shootings and then say, hey, let me check out some other options, because there are other options in the world and your money can go further, believe it or not. You pick the right place, like someplace like the Gambia, you can take that money. You might be struggling on Social Security in America, but you could live like a king or queen in the Gambia and really enjoy it. You know, make some adjustments, and you'll be amazed at how far your money can go. That's why that understanding the power of $1.5 trillion and how it can translate into other parts of the world, how it could really, you can do some amazing things. So anyway, all I ask that you do, keep clicking that like button, share this video, subscribe. We are shooting for 20,000 by July 1st. That's right, 20,000 by July 1st. We were right at 16.5 now. So we got what's that, 3,500 more to go? So that's what we're shooting for. And I believe we can do it. I believe we can actually surpass that, because we're going to be coming with more content like this, as well as, I have the fun, silly stuff. I'm free. So you're gonna get it all. You're gonna get the deep stuff, you can get the fun stuff. I'm free. I don't have a brand. I don't have a brand I'm out here trying to do. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I'm not trying to be popular. I'm not trying to, if you gain 10 subscribers, you lose 3 because you say something somebody doesn't like. I'm just going with the flow and enjoying every minute of it and taking everybody on the ride with me. And hopefully some of you will join us on one of our experiences. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Get ready for more from South Africa, and let's continue to do our due diligence, our homework, our research, and grow. All right, y'all. Take care.